Public hearing for the Tangipahoa Parish Council for September the 28th, 2020 will come to order. We have 4 items on public hearing. First one is TP ordinance number 20-39, an ordinance declaring that a certain property expropriated by ordinance number 9911 is no longer needed for valid public purposes and is therefore no longer expropriated and is again designated as adjudicated property. Anyone to speak on that? Okay, that item will be taken up under the regular council agenda directly after the public hearing. Number 2, TP ordinance number 20-40, an ordinance placing 25-mile-an-hour speed limit signs on Stilley Road in District 2 in Tangipahoa in accordance with Chapter 20 Streets, Roads, Sidewalks, and Drainage. Anyone to speak on that item? Okay, that one will be taken up on the regular agenda after a public hearing. Number 3, TP ordinance number 20-41, an ordinance to grant a variance to TP ordinance number 20-19, allowing the administrative approval of 110 feet of frontage on East Damiano Lane and an existing 35-foot servitude for 2 lots, each being a half acre, for Bridget D. Barnes at 17062 East Damiano Lane, Hammond, Louisiana. Anyone to address that? Okay. And the last one will be TP ordinance number 2042, an ordinance to amend, reenact, extend TP ordinance number 2025 to place an additional moratorium on the consideration and/or preliminary approval through the Planning Commission of any new residential subdivisions with over 8 lots and a special use residential commercial development for a period of 60 days within Tangipahoa Parish on the south end of south of Interstate 12. Anyone to speak on that? Okay, that will conclude the public hearing. Regular meeting of the Tangipahoa Parish Council for September the 28th, 2020 will come to order. We're going to have invocation by Mr. Forrest and a pledge of allegiance by Mr. Joseph. Everybody please stand.
Please bow your head. Gracious Father, we thank you for allowing us the opportunity to come here tonight and meet and discuss the things of the parish and be with us and help us to make the right decisions for our constituents. Be with us as we go through this time of coronavirus. Be with our kids as they have to adjust to learning from home and learning how to deal with technology, and just be with everyone as we go through these troubling times. Be with those in the path of the storms that have been coming. Look over them and guide them as they recover. Lord, be with our military, those at home and abroad, and bring them home safe to their families. Look over us, guide us, lead us in our daily lives. Forgive us when we fail thee. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I'd like for each of you to please face the flag. I'm asking veterans to please render the hand salute. Civilians, place your right hand over your heart. Ready, salute. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Present.
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 Here.
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 Here. Here.
Okay, any mobile devices, if you have a cell phone or anything, if you will please turn them off at this time. Adoption of minutes, regular meeting dated September 14th, 2020.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Wells,
Second.
second by Ms. Hyde. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Public input, anyone wishing to address agenda items which were not on the public hearing. I have a couple of items that councilmen have requested to add to the agenda. I'd like to do that at this time. One is an appointment to the Drainage District number 4 in AIM 8 of Mr. J.C. Ricks. If we can have a motion to add that to the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Joseph, second by Mr. Ingraffia. Roll call.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, we'll take that up at the end of the meeting. And we also have a request from one of our council ladies to allow Miss Christy Taylor with the Lake Pontchartrain Basin Foundation to say a few words. I'm going to ask that we, if y'all are okay with that, we'll let her speak at the councilman's privilege. If everybody, we don't need to vote unless y'all want to. If everybody's okay with that.
Yeah.
Okay, and then one other item. Miss Leah Long is here. She's with Senator Kennedy's office. She's the North Shore representative for Senator Kennedy, and we appreciate her being here tonight. If y'all haven't had a chance to meet her, she may stick around till the end of the meeting so that y'all all can get her contact information. Ms. Long, thank you for being here tonight. Okay. Parish President's report.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
We just have a few items to handle. The first one is approval of the bid for the Kentwood Branch Library. The low bidder was Stewart and Company General Contractors, LLC. The amount with an alternate number one is $2,892,250. Your approval needs to be contingent on facilities planning and control at the state level to approve and the bond commission to approve. Well, we are asking for that. The library's ready to go.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
first I'd like to thank the library board for all their hard work. This has been going on for a long time. Finally get the approval. Appreciate Mr. Berry and his team and all their work. So with that being said, I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Forrest,
I'd like to second it.
second by Mr. Joseph, and also want to thank Mr. Joseph. He's our representative on the board, and he's been fighting right alongside of them, and this has been a long endeavor. How long has that been,
We
Barry?
started in 2013.
Yeah, so,
Almost as long as Club of Lux.
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, but it was talked about long before that.
You're right.
It was talked about when I was on that board.
okay, we got a motion and a second, roll call?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Motion passed.
All right, the second item, the approval to seek bids for a used roll-off truck. We're asking to table that. We think we're going to have to go a different direction on that particular
We have a
item.
motion to table.
So moved.
Yes, sir.
Motion by Mr. Vial, second by Mr. Wells, to table the purchase or to seek bids for the used roll-off truck. Roll call?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 3 is approval to purchase off of state contract 8 tractors and 8 cutters. That's 4 tractors for the boom mowers and then 4 tractors with the side cutters. The total for all 8 and the mowers is $887,413.88. It is in the 2021 budget. So we're actually ready to go if you guys are good with it.
We got the contract on that.
It's Kubota, Star Power.
Will these be additional to what we have now added on?
No, thank you. Good question. We're going to replace. We have some standby tractors. Those are going to go away. Surplus. We're going to take some of the existing tractors that we're using and pick out the 2 best ones for our backups for cutting, and then surplus the rest. So.
Also move.
Motion by Mr. Ridgestill, second by Mr. Vial. Purchase the 8 tractors and cutters. And Robbie, what was that amount? 800 and what?
887, 413.88.
Okay, for the amount of 887, 413.88. Roll call.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Passes.
The next item is a proclamation for National Disability Employment Awareness Month. I think Kristen, we were asked by, I don't remember which one, we were asked to do this. It's something we do pretty much every year to just recognize that this is the month of, for recognizing people with disabilities and employment. So the proclamation is over there. If you guys will pass it, we'll pass it along to the right folks.
I so move, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Wells,
Second.
second by Mr. Mayhew. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Okay.
The last item is a financial report. We had a finance committee earlier. You have a budget finance report on your desk and emailed to you. As always, if you have any questions or comments, want more clarification, more information, please call. And if you don't mind, I have one note to make. It's to our jobs posting on Go Jobs. There are 1,821 jobs being advertised to Tangipahoa Parish citizens from various public, private employers. They range from entry-level jobs to careers. And the average on those jobs is $38,058. So just want to make sure if any of your constituents are looking, we have a career center on Market Street in Hammond and right here on Mulberry in Amite. So people can go there and help and look for jobs, figure out if they need to get training. And in some cases, depending on if they qualify, the training could be free. Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much.
Also, this proclamation, if we can include it in the minutes, please. Okay, number 6, TPC acting as Board of Review for 2020. Mr. Junior
Yes, sir.
Mayhew,
Close.
Assessor,
Yes, sir.
Esquire.
Maybe. Anyway, good to see you guys again. Got some new faces on the council, and congratulations to all of y'all for winning your election, and I'm sure y'all going to be doing a great job, and welcome to the crowd. My job here today is to present the value of the parish, the assessed value of the parish after closing out the rolls. We went through our review period, which was August 25th through September 9th, at which time we had a few people come in with some what they considered problems, but we dealt with them across the desk like we like to do, and basically have no appeals. And anyway, the total value of the parish, assessed value for the parish, is $848,688,596. And again, it's showing an increase. Now, some of this is partly attributed to the reassessment year, which was, we had a small amount of reassessment that we had to do. But the rest of it is all new growth, which I'll be honest with you, it surprised me a little bit. I thought the pandemic would kind of slow things down a little bit. Did not, okay? It's encouraging. It's 4% growth from what we had last year, and it's substantial. We've been averaging anywhere from a point to a point and a half over the period of time that I've been in office. The increase in the total value of the parish from day one, from when we started to keep tracking this stuff, it's phenomenal. In my opinion, it's just it's positive for the parish. So it's going to help out some of the coffers, especially the smaller taxing districts. We'll get a little help with that, and hopefully it's just a sign of things to come. Big question mark was the pandemic, in my opinion, but it looked like we got through that in pretty healthy fashion. Any questions?
Yes, sir. No, sir. I think
Thank y'all very much.
that's a good sign. As long as you keep going up, that's what we want to do.
Absolutely. Growth is what you're looking for. And, y'all going to deal with the effects of the growth. I mean, there's no question that, roads and bridges, infrastructure is going to get challenged. But Still, bottom line is everybody's property values are holding their own. We never want to see it go any other way.
Right.
I know increase in property values sometimes give people heart attacks, okay? And what it does to your tax bill, but you never want to see it going the other way. I've been there. Y'all remember 84 to 94. It was no fun. Absolutely no fun.
Okay, Junior, thank you very much.
Thank y'all.
And look, do
Appreciate
you
y'all.
want to just, is the period over where anybody can still contact the assessor's office?
Well, no, right now, we are locked in, and the rolls are going to be submitted to the tax commission, at which time, once they're locked in, we got to go through change orders. Now, certainly, if there's a legitimate beef, if there's a question about a value or whatever it is, we're there to help,
So if they have a problem, they can still call the assessor's office?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yeah. If you got a problem with anything, keep in mind, we've got a registered land survey that works for us. We're trying to get our maps all squared away. We went from a mainframe system to a PC-based system, which there was some hiccups that went along with that transition, but we kind of went through a test run in 2019. 2020, I think everything seemed to be worked out pretty good. And so we'd like to get the word out that there are a lot of, any kind of problem you have with your real estate, we're the place to come. I've got great employees, great, civil servants that have been with the office for a long time. And, I'm just a pretty face, I tell everybody, but nobody agrees with that, so.
Let's don't go too far with that.
Yeah, well, I did go on the record a statement, though. So,
Thank you, Junior.
all right, well,
Appreciate you.
appreciate y'all.
Do we have to accept this report? I think so, Mr. Brown.
We do have to have a motion to accept.
A motion to accept.
Motion by Mr. Vial,
Second.
second by Mr. Forrest. Roll call.
Yep.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. I'm going to move up number 8, presentation Methodist Children's Home. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Patrick Blanchard. I work for the Methodist Children's Home in Ruston. Our address is 904 DeVille Lane, Ruston, Louisiana, 71270. And couldn't have had a better segue into growth in the parish for this report. Many of you know, because you were here when we asked permission to build this children's home, that we're out there north of the Robert Exit on a 125-acre beautiful piece of property. Rain helped slow that first process down quite a bit, but Mr. Anzalone was able to get phase 1 completed. So that's done. Utilities, phase 1, beautiful road at a cost of $2 million and paid for right here in Tangipahoa Parish. We are working on phase 2 right now, and let's see what we do on here. I'm sure there's an arrow. There it is. For those of you who don't know, it's 125 acres out there on 445. It's north of the Shell facility, but south of the Solomon Center. Now, the children we take care of over there, this is not like an orphanage. These children can't be cared for in their local communities because they have behavioral health issues. Sometimes it's because they're just having difficulty in life and it's a private placement from their family. Other times it's because they've had some of the most horrific things done to them that you can imagine being done to a child. And they're having a real hard time processing that and finding some tools to go on and live their lives. So these children will come into this facility 6 to 9 months and then they'll go somewhere else. This is a 5-phase, 10-year construction plan. Like I said, phase 1 was the road. I don't know if y'all remember that property was kind of all grown over, but we brought in a forestry machine, cleared out about 80 acres. We've got a beautiful concrete roadway that's back there. And phase 2 is going to be the actual residence and administration building for these children. This is an architect's rendering of this. Now, this is looking from east to west. At the very top is going to be Highway 445. So as you come in that long driveway, before you hit that dog leg, One of the buildings in there that says admin and dormitory, that's what we're working on right now. This is kind of a site map. So the orange roadway is there, and those red buildings, that's the admin and dormitory. So that's, let me see if I can give you some square footage on that. Yeah, the residential dormitory, that's 21,000 square feet, and the administration clinic and classrooms on the front end of that, that's a 10,000 square foot building. So that's quite a bit of building that we're putting up over there. This was taken, let's see, on the morning, I was about 3:30 a.m. The other day. The construction crew was out there pouring that concrete, and they did a fantastic job. They just worked that thing from start to finish, and then when the sun came up, they worked it even more. So, like I said earlier, the phase 1 construction was $2 million. Estimate on phase 2 is $7.5 million. So we're roughly $9.5 to $10 million on the first 2 phases of construction. And so that's coming up soon. You see, Mr. Anzalone's company was chosen for phase 2 as well. So we're glad to see that that full $10 million is going to be coming into this parish. We had Dr. Patrick Scott at Louisiana Tech do an economic impact study for us. We're also working on a socioeconomic impact study with some folks out of the Tulane Medical School. But as far as the actual formula of you put $10 million in, what do you get out? He says in his report that a 1-year impact is $30 million for this economic unit, which is Tangipahoa Parish. And although it's a little tenuous, he said if things stay how they are right now, a 10-year impact would be $129 million. So that's quite a boon for the Tangipahoa Parish unit. He says local tax implications for 10 years, $1.2 million. State tax implications for 10 years, $2.6 million. So that's not too bad. So these children right now are in a rented facility in Mandeville. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that old psych facility out on the highway east of Mandeville. Anyway, it's like something that was built during the time of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So our folks have gone into there, and we're leasing some square footage in that, and these little bitty boys are in there, and we're doing the best we can in that. But they've got a 1/3 acre playground right now. So they're going to go from 1/3 of an acre to next fall, they'll be on probably 60 acres of playground. So what's going to happen is these aren't just kids coming and going. These are future parents. These are going to be future grandparents. And if it's anything like the Ruston campus, which has been up there since 1904, they will come back year after year and show their children and their grandchildren where they went. So that beautiful piece of property in this beautiful parish for the next 100 years or so is going to be improving children's lives and future families' lives in ways that you just can't imagine right now. Because believe me, these kids need something bright and positive in their lives. So we have one in Ruston. It's been up there since 1904. It originally started in Bunkie in 1902, but some ladies in Ruston said, we've got 40 acres real cheap if you want to come up here. So we moved to Ruston in 1904. Been on that same 40 acres since then. It's a beautiful campus. In 2010, we built another campus in Sulphur. By the way, the building in Sulphur was designed by E.J. Ellender Architects. Mr. Ellender is also the person who designed this building that we're building here. The eye of Laura went over that, the front wall and the back wall, 135 mile-an-hour winds, and we had a little bit of gutter damage where this portable building bounced off the building. So that's a structure in the middle of a community that's been decimated. We pulled the kids out of that, and we're waiting to get back in as soon as the community builds around it. You got to have sewer, you got to have potable water, and we've just got electricity back the other day. But the lease facility in Mandeville, when we move in over here, we're going to get out of that lease in Mandeville. So this will be the new home of the Southeast Louisiana Children's Home. And we also do foster care statewide. Any one time, you got about 5,000 Louisiana children in foster care. The children with significant behavioral issues go into something called therapeutic foster care. That's our wheelhouse. We operate therapeutic foster care around the state of Louisiana, 130 children in that right now, so we're looking to grow that 200 to 300. In fact, that's our next phase. Phase 3 on the property would be the foster care training facility and life skills training facility. So that's coming soon as I can get this one paid for. But I wanted to be here to give you all a personal update on this, and thank you very much for the fine things you do for this parish and for us. So,
Mr. Patrick, a couple of
yes,
questions.
sir.
What is the age of these children? Is there a beginning age to, and
You know, we're licensed in southeast Louisiana for the younger children, 7 to 12 or 7 to 14. So these are the younger children, and right now, we only have room for 18 in Mandeville. So this is a 32-bed facility. So we'll have probably young girls, too. Now, this is a very stylized building. This is the 4th time we've built this building. We did it twice in Ruston, we did it once in Sulphur. It's got 4 distinct hallways, a common cafeteria. So it's built with the use in mind of you can find children, put them in a safe location, let them feel safe, they will trust you, and then they will learn better ways to live. So, yeah, the younger ones.
and how long can they stay at that facility? Is there a time frame of how long they can stay with you there?
Actually, there is. It used to be a judge would say you go live at the Methodist Children's Home until you turn 18. That's nowhere near what we're doing now. This is a very structured clinical environment. You've got to have a certificate of need signed by a doctor to even get there. Managed care organizations, you remember the Healthy Blue, that Healthy Louisiana, those 5? There's a case manager for each child that comes to us, and they follow that child's care. And if that child reaches maximum improvement, or they don't think they'll improve anymore, they pull them out of the facility. So you're looking at 6 to 9 months. Now, on average, 95% of our children are discharged because they have improved enough to go somewhere else that's not quite as structured as what we offer.
And then the only other question I have is, how do you get these children? Are they referred to you from different agencies?
Louisiana Department of Children and Family Services, Louisiana Department of Health, OJJ, judges. Half of our children are privately placed. This is a grandmother, aunt, parent, just having a difficult time with this child, and they will contact us. Now, it's interesting to know that regardless of the wealth of the family, every bit of this is Medicaid funded. Now, unless there's a private insurer that has primary coverage, it's all Medicaid funded. So that's federal dollars coming into here. You're going to have therapists, you're going to have direct care staff. Our ratios are 1 staff member to 3 children, so 32 children, you can count that out. You've got nurses, clinicians, administrators, teachers, so we'll be coming back and talking to the school board about how to educate the kids too. So it is a big deal.
It's a beautiful, I did take a ride back there and look.
Good.
And it's a beautiful site, and it's got that calming effect. So I really think, you know, for kids that have been pinned up in the city and stuff, to get out in that environment, it's going to be great, and it's in a beautiful location.
I agree, and if anybody wants to come out and see it, I'm going to be in South Louisiana for another 2 or 3 days, and I can give you my cell phone number, and y'all can call me, and I'll be happy to bring you out there and take a look at it. But
Any questions, Robert?
So we're building phase 2 right now.
Sure.
Whenever phase 2 finishes, you'll be able to actually have children come.
yeah, we're looking to be operational August 2021, if weather permits. We got to get the roof and the walls up, and then we're good to go regardless of hurricanes, I hope. And then shortly after that, it's going to be that other building, phase 3, which I think is $1 million, $1.5 million, something like that, but don't quote me on that one. Anyway, thank y'all very much for having us. Thank you
for coming, Pat.
Yeah.
Anybody else have a question? Oh, we got another question
One
for you,
comment.
Mr. Bill.
I just want to thank your organization and you and everybody who works for the children's group.
Yeah.
Thank you for what you do.
Well, I will pass that on. I got to tell you, there are some people working directly with these children that should be in all of our prayers all of the time. Because I tell people that I hire, there's a hazard of working with the children's home, and they kind of giggle, and I said, no, I'm serious. You're going to learn things that people do to children that you can't unlearn.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we've got an organization state this strong helping these children. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I can tell you one thing. Since this project started, John, I don't know if you had any. I know I talked to Jimmy about it. Not one complaint. And usually any kind of new construction or new thing to an area, we're going to get people that complain, but not one complaint about the building of this facility. So I really think the community is going to embrace it, and you're probably going to get a lot of support from the surrounding community. So we welcome you to the parish.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's district?
It's in John.
John's.
John?
Yeah.
I want to talk to Robin at the school board.
Okay, we're going to move on now.
At the school.
Let's see where we at. We're going to go to number 7, audit report presentation, Mr. Dennis James.
I'm gonna come out there and visit them too when they get Yeah, okay. You always sharp. A well-dressed man.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
God bless you.
Thank you, my man.
As you know, my name is Dennis James, and this is my partner, Mr. Paul Riggs. I'm the managing director for James Lambert Riggs and Associates, and Paul and I are here to present the results of the Tangipahoa Parish Government regular annual audit for the year 2019. Some of the other staff members that many of y'all know who are not able to be with us tonight, Miss Megan Lynch, she did quite a bit of work on the audit, Miss Christy Rado from Ponchatoula, and Mr. Connor Calora. They were just not able to be here with us tonight. Mr. Chairman, with your permission, for the benefit of the 3 new council members, I'd like to talk a little bit about this audit process, because I think this may be the first time they've been through it, and I think I can shed some light on how it works. Under state law, every governmental audit in the state of Louisiana must be approved in advance, reviewed and accepted by the Louisiana Legislative Auditor to be complete. So what I'm here to do tonight is present the report to you as a council member, but ultimately we have to send the report by Wednesday this week to the Legislative Auditor for their review. Our audit began in February, but was disrupted because of COVID-19 and the government stay-at-home order. The deadline for your audit is normally June 30th. However, this year, that deadline was extended to September 30th, so we have to have the report in Baton Rouge by this Wednesday evening. Tonight, we are presenting the results of our work to you. On Wednesday, we will send our completed audit to the Louisiana Legislative Auditor to meet the required deadline. Your audit will also be submitted to the federal government through the clearinghouse. And when all of that is done Wednesday evening, the audit process for 2019 will be complete. I wanted to point out to members of the council and also the public at large that Tangipahoa Parish government is fortunate to have been able to assemble such an outstanding team of professional accountants that oversee the financial affairs of this parish. Your financial team consists of licensed CPAs and graduate accounting professionals, each of whom have many years in governmental accounting and auditing experience. And they work very, very hard to get the numbers right. And as auditors, that's exactly what we found. For the benefit of our clients, we always try to meet with our clients at least 2 weeks in advance and present them with a preliminary draft of our report. The purpose of the preliminary draft is to allow everyone to read the report and to make sure that everything is correct, and to provide additional documentary evidence for any matters addressed in the report. Sometimes we find typographical errors that have to be fixed before the final report is out. On Monday, August 31st, our auditors met with management and the Finance Committee to review a preliminary draft of our report. And we requested everybody in attendance to read our draft report and to notify us of any matters that needed further clarification. Since that time, our preliminary draft has been revised somewhat based on additional information submitted to our office. The report you'll be seeing tonight is our final report that, once accepted by the Louisiana Legislative Auditor, will become a public document. At this time, I'd like my partner, Mr. Paul Riggs, who was the audit partner on the job, to discuss the financial health of the parish. And when he's finished, I'll conclude with a couple of recommendations for your consideration.
All right, thank you, Dennis. As he said, I'm Paul Riggs, the audit director at James Lambert Riggs. I want to echo what Dennis stated earlier and thank the administration and all of the staff. The staff was wonderful to work with during the process. They were very professional, and we had a lot of challenges with the social distancing requirements in order to get this audit done properly. Every day we had about 4 staff members out here, so it was very difficult to find space for us. We spent a lot of days in this room. We also spent a lot of days in the Emergency Operations Center, and all of the staff was very, very helpful in walking over there or bringing us the information we needed and very accommodating. So we want to thank them very, very much for putting up with this and helping us out so much. We also want to thank Ms. Laura Gray for assisting the parish in preparing the financial statements. Pretty much everything that you're going to see in this report, other than the letters with our letterhead on it, was prepared by Ms. Gray. Ultimately, these financial statements are management's financial statements, the parish and their staff. And Laura helped out and basically met with them and performed a lot of the assistance in getting all this together. But ultimately, it is management's financials, and our role as auditors is to make sure that the financials are right. And I'm pleased to say that we made no journal entries to the financial statements during our audit, which means that all of the numbers that were provided to us, we did not have to change anything or make any adjustments to any of the numbers. I've passed out 2 reports to you. One of them we're going to start with is the small report. It's about 4 or 5 pages, and it's called the Statewide Agreed Upon Procedures Engagement. This is a set of required procedures from the legislative auditor, and it acts as a supplement, if you will, to the regular audit. This is, for the benefit of the new board members, essentially a kind of a best practices exercise. The legislative auditor felt like auditors were not addressing certain issues during their audits, and they wanted us to go in depth on a couple of areas, such as travel reimbursements, credit card usage, board meetings, bank reconciliations, and so forth. This is the 3rd year that the parish has had these procedures, and based on the guidance from the legislative auditor, the only areas we had to look at were written policies and procedures, specifically your disaster recovery policy, which you adopted sometime last year, as well as the cash receipts and collections procedure. And I'm pleased to announce that we have no findings, issues, concerns whatsoever with these agreed upon procedures. So for those of you that are new to the council, this is the first and hopefully the last time that you will see this exercise go forward. Unless the legislative auditor changes guidance in the future, we will not have to do these anymore. So that report, that small 4 or 5 page report, is that, and it's very good. The next thing I want to do is start on the big audit, the main audit. This report is about 100 pages long, and we are absolutely not going to go through every page, but I do have a couple of things that I want to highlight briefly in here. If you want to turn, you don't have to, but on pages 81 and 82 of the report, we have what we call the Schedule of Expenditures of Federal Awards. And last year, the parish government spent about $14.7 million in federal money through a whole series of grants and programs. And the guidance that we have to follow, we have to do special procedures. It's what's called a single audit on this federal money. Last year, due to some findings we had in the Section 8 program, the guidance that we are required to follow states that we have to design procedures to look at least 40% of all of your federal spending. So that means we had to look at all of your programs and grants totaling about $5.8 million. And so we went through all the guidance that the federal government puts out for us, and we looked at all the programs that we had, and we came down to 2 programs that we had to look at in depth this year. The Section 8 program and your hazard mitigation grants program. And I'm pleased to announce with the hazard mitigation program, it was a very good result. We had no findings, no issues, and we spent about $3.1 million last year on that. As far as the Section 8 program, I'm also pleased to report that that was a very good report this year. We also had no findings or no issues, and the parish spent about $3.5 million there. There were some findings in the Section 8 program last year. We reviewed those areas this year, and everything appeared to be cleaned up, and all the findings were cleared in the current year. We did look at a lot of participant files in the program. We did have a few issues that came up, but we sat down with Ms. Mabry and some of the other staff. They explained certain circumstances, and we were satisfied with those discussions that we had. And so we are issuing a clean report on your Section 8 program this year. So for your federal funds, we looked at, again, 2 programs, and we're issuing a clean report on both of those programs. The next thing I want to go over is the actual auditor's opinion on the financial statements. What is our grade, if you will, on your financial statements? And we are issuing what is called an unmodified opinion, or in English, that is a clean or good opinion on your financial statements. The numbers and the disclosures in the financial statements are basically correct. Now, no auditor will ever audit to 100% accuracy. We certainly don't do that. No auditor actually does that. The standards allow us to select samples and use various trend analysis for certain testing. We also sent confirmations to outside third parties and said, you know, school board, how much did you send us in sales tax money this year, and so forth. And so based on all of the testing that we did, the financial statements appear to be correct. Now, is it possible that there is a $100 or $200 item that's posted to the Road and Bridge Department when it should be posted to the Animal Control Department? Yes, that is a possibility. We believe, based on everything that we have done, that any issues like that are probably very, very far and few and far between, that happens very, very rarely. We did some testing to make sure that individual transactions that come in on a daily basis are actually posted to the right department and the right bank account. Everything appeared to be good there, but it is possible that there might be one very, very small item that's misposted or misclassified, but nothing that would cause the parish to blow up because of, you know, a small little $100 or $50 issue like that. As far as a quick financial analysis, the parish has 30 to 40 departments or funds, as we call them. And there are 4 departments or funds that are considered to be major. Your general fund, your road and bridge department, the garbage district or the landfill, and your hazard mitigation program. And I'm pleased to report that all of these departments or funds had positive surpluses last year. So that's always good. We like to see that. Beginning on page 27 and going through page 72, we have the footnotes to the financial statements. And these act as a supplement to all of the numbers that are in the front of the report. And for example, in the financial numbers, you're going to see a line item that says ad valorem taxes. Well, that doesn't really tell you anything about what the millage rates are, when the taxes are collected, who actually collects these taxes, when some of these taxes expire. And so that information, plus a lot of other information on capital assets, long-term debt, bond issuances, retirement systems, healthcare benefits, and so forth, is found in these footnotes. It's not exactly the most exciting read in the world, but if you want to know more information about some of the numbers, that is a good supplement for that. So again, I've kind of flown through the numbers. As Dennis said, ordinarily, under normal circumstances, we will be out here in June presenting the final numbers. We're out here at the end of September. So the numbers in these financials are about 9 months old. I know you receive regular updates from the financial department as far as where we stand right now. So that's why I didn't want to spend a lot of time on what the numbers were 9 months ago. I just didn't think it was necessary to spend a lot of time on it. But does anybody have any questions, at least on the numbers, on our general opinion on the numbers, on anything we did with respect to your federal funds? Does anybody have any questions for me?
Done here.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. If I could just reiterate what Paul said, is that your staff provided us with financial statements and asked us to audit them, and based on 9 months of work, we didn't have a single journal entry that we had to give them to make those numbers correct. So that's pretty outstanding. That is rare in a governmental environment. Auditors provide reasonable assurance that the Tangipahoa Parish government financial statements are materially correct, so that the users of your financial statements can make informed decisions about the fiscal health of your parish. To make that assessment, auditors must audit not only the numbers, but the systems, both manual and computerized, that produce those numbers. These are the systems that my auditors looked at, both manual and electronic systems: cash receipts, cash disbursements, capital assets, payroll and time and attendance, landfill operations, arena operations, coroner's office, animal control, health unit, permit and planning. Auditors must determine, are controls designed properly and operating as intended to safeguard Tangipahoa Parish financial resources from loss, to minimize the risk that errors or irregularities could occur, and to detect them quickly if they do. Please turn to page 92. We have one recommendation, number 2019-001. It's titled Improvement in Existing Internal Controls Over Payroll, that we would like to review with you this evening. I thought I would go through this, and then when we're finished, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. During our audit and review of internal control procedures for payroll time and attendance, and our testing of individual payroll transactions for compliance with those internal control procedures, we noted several weaknesses in payroll procedures that should be improved. On December 9, 2019, ordinance number 19-56 was adopted by the Parish Council, updating the original employee handbook for parish employees. This updated employee handbook does not appear to contain a policy on employees working from home in the absence of a government stay-at-home order, or detailed procedures for the council clerk position, an employee of the parish council under the home rule charter. We noted personnel files are kept in an unsecure location, leaving the private and confidential information of employees susceptible to access by unauthorized individuals. We also noticed the payroll clerk, who has responsibility for preparing all parish employee paychecks. In the software, this person has access to the master file in the accounting software's payroll module. The problem with this is it does create an opportunity where the payroll clerk can make unauthorized changes to individual employee pay rates in the master file. Supervisory review of payroll prepared by the payroll clerk consists of viewing the payroll check register. There is a supervisory review of every payroll check that leaves Tangipahoa Parish government, but the review is looking at a check register for the net pay amount. This could create an opportunity for unauthorized changes to employee pay rates by the payroll clerk that could be concealed by extra tax withholdings to the employee, which may be detected in a timely manner. I was actually involved in a fraud related to this exact matter on a private business, which is why it's something that I think is important in a government environment. The current payroll biweekly time reporting sheet maintained by the council clerk and fire administrator does not adequately certify the actual hours worked. For both positions, the immediate supervisor is the council chairman, who is not physically present at council offices on a daily basis to observe the employee's attendance, and who cannot certify the hours worked with any reasonable certainty using the current system. In a test of 26 biweekly timesheets prepared by the council clerk, we noted 8 instances in which the council clerk used a signature stamp to sign the supervisor's certification of time after obtaining consent from the supervisor by text message. Furthermore, we noted 7 instances in which overtime was paid, and there does not appear to be any advance written approval by the council chairman authorizing overtime to be worked. It is the policy of parish government that overtime be approved in advance by an employee's immediate supervisor, and that the justification for the overtime be documented on the employee's biweekly timesheet certified by their immediate supervisor. In a test of 46 randomly selected paychecks of parish employees, we noted 22 instances in which overtime was paid. Of those 22 instances in which overtime was paid, 11 instances lacked justification for the overtime worked on the biweekly timesheet as required. The criteria, obviously payroll is one of the largest expenditures of Tangipahoa Parish government, and strong, effective controls over payroll are essential to the secure, efficient operation of parish government. Lack of adequate controls over payroll, time and attendance record keeping creates an opportunity for employees to be paid for work not performed, which is a prohibited donation of public funds under Article 7, Section 14 of the Louisiana Constitution, and possible public payroll fraud under Louisiana Revised Statutes 14:138. And that's an Attorney General Opinion number 86-652. So our review of controls over payroll time, and attendance, we looked at it very, very closely. We got into the computer software. We looked at the computer system controls as well as the manual controls, and we think that we need to have as strong of controls as we possibly can. We're required to communicate to you what we believe the cause of this condition to be. I think lack of specific guidance in the employee manual regarding employees working from home policy and procedures related to the council clerk position. The payroll software is just an inherent weakness in the payroll software system controls that's going to require either some type of reprogramming modification to the software or some compensating controls to overcome that inherent weakness. I think we have oversight on the part of management regarding securing personnel information in a locked filing cabinet. It's actually in the safe, but they told us the safe here has never really been closed in 10 years, so it's not really in a secure environment. And the oversight on the part of some department supervisors when certifying employee timesheets. What we found is that some departments do an excellent job approving and certifying the overtime and providing documentation for the need, whereas other departments maybe not quite as diligent. The effect of all this is that the failure to adopt and adhere to strong internal controls over time and attendance and payroll creates an environment in which errors, irregularities, including possible violations of law, and waste could occur and not be detected in a timely manner. So these are our specific recommendations for the council to consider. We recommend the parish employee handbook be updated to include the following provisions: include a policy regarding an employee working at home in the absence of a government stay-at-home order with advanced approval by their immediate supervisor. We think the personnel handbook should be updated to include formal written policy for the council clerk's position, to include standard hours of operation, primary office location, an expanded job description for the position of the council clerk that defines in detail the specific duties, responsibilities of that position. Identify the council chairman or his or her designee as the immediate supervisor for the council clerk's position. A daily electronic time and attendance system to be certified by the council chairman or his or her designee. And we think overtime with advance approved by the council chairman or his or her designee. We think the location of the personnel file should be in a locked file cabinet with access limited to the human resources director, the payroll clerk, or the director of finance. We think that access to the computer payroll master file by the payroll clerk should not be allowed. If software limitations do not allow for this system control, continue to require the director of finance or his or her designee to review and approve all changes to the payroll master file on a regular basis and to document that review and approval in writing. The person assigned responsibility for reviewing and approving payroll prepared by the payroll clerk should review a complete payroll register that reconciles gross pay to net check amount for each employee to determine that the gross pay is correct. The use of a signature stamp approval to certify a supervisor review an employee's time worked, even after obtaining approval by text message, should be prohibited. The council clerk position and the fire administrator position that both lack an immediate supervisor capable of monitoring their attendance daily should be required to complete a time and attendance system suitable for their job responsibilities. For the council clerk position, we recommend an electronic time and attendance system, a best practice for office environments. For the fire administrator, we recommend a system suitable for public safety whose jobs require them to be away from their office on a regular basis. These are our recommendations. This was our first year doing an audit. I instructed my auditors to do a very, very, very thorough analysis of internal controls parish-wide. This included getting on employees' computer systems, finding out what they had access to, what they could do, what they couldn't do. These are our recommendations based on all the work we did. Before we open up for questions, I do want to say I want to thank you very much for allowing my firm and my staff the opportunity to work for you this past year. It was a good audit. We were working with some very, very capable and strong financial people. And except for the interruption caused by COVID-19, the work went very smoothly, and I do appreciate it. So at this point, Paul and I are happy to answer any questions you might have relative to either the financial statements, our review of internal controls, our specific recommendations for you to consider in this report. And remember, Wednesday afternoon, sometime late, we'll send the electronic version of this report to the Louisiana Legislative Auditor's Office. They will have to review it and accept it, and once they do that, they will post it on their website as a public document, and that will complete the process.
Okay. I've got a couple questions.
Yes.
The stamp. Mm-hmm. Is it legal to use a stamp in a situation like that?
Mr. Chairman, I think I'm going to let someone else answer that question. There is evidence that a photocopy of the timesheet was reviewed by the supervisor via a text message. I don't like the policy. It certainly is not best practices. Whether or not the legality of that matter, I guess, is for someone else to answer other than myself.
Mr. Risto.
Have you already received the comments from the parish on your findings? Were you prepared to send it by Wednesday, or you need to have them by Wednesday?
What we are encouraged, and in fact the standards really require, we're encouraged to always include management's comments in the bound report because it's a public document, because it's important for us to communicate to the users of this document what action may or may not have taken place. We have, in the back, you may notice, I didn't point to it, but almost one of the last pages, we have a letter from the parish president with his comments about some of the recommendations we have that are specific to...
So some of those has already been answered.
That's right. Now, you know, if the council, through the council chairman, wishes to put a letter in this document before it's sent to Baton Rouge, you can comment on whatever recommendations I have, whether you disagree. It's perfectly okay for you to disagree with my recommendations, or you can adopt some of the recommendations or all the recommendations. Whatever y'all do, as long as I get something before about 4 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon, I can incorporate that in the bound report for submission to Baton Rouge.
Dennis, I got another question. At the last meeting, there were some comments made that this, well, first of all, when I sat in with the parish president on the review of the audit, this is the same audit, is that correct?
Yeah, it is, and I will tell you that we had, in our preliminary draft, we had some comments about an outdated, stale employee manual that needed updating. Well, unknown to us, we were given the original manual that I think was adopted back in 2003 or something like that. December of last year, this board actually adopted almost a rewrite to that manual that really had a lot of extra information in there that we had some concerns about. So we had some comments about that, updating the personnel model. Those are not in this final report. Everything else that we reviewed with the finance committee at that time is still, the wording might be a little bit different, but it's still basically in my report.
Well, what I'm getting at the last meeting, some councilmen made reference that they didn't vote on some recommendations because you were going to change the audit, that they had got information from you that the audit was going to be changed. And that came in the form of a text or an email from the council clerk that she was waiting on changes to the audit that you were going to make, so they didn't think it was the right thing to vote on the changes because the audit was going to be changed. But this is what the audit was when we reviewed it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to mention this. I think it would be professional malpractice on my part if I did an audit, sent it to Baton Rouge, and didn't even give any of y'all the courtesy of seeing what's in it. I also want to make absolutely sure that what we send to Baton Rouge is factually correct, which is why it's important for us to give you a preliminary draft of the report well in advance of the final draft to let everybody read it, everybody have their comment. Sometimes there are typographical errors that have to get fixed. Sometimes there's other errors such as dates on certain things. And sometimes I have an opportunity to read again what I wrote the first time and maybe make some changes in some of the wording. I reserve the right to do that because that first document is not a public document, it's a preliminary draft. It's for everybody to see what our first draft of our thoughts are. And many times, our clients will provide us with additional documentary evidence that allows us to clear a matter because when we were out there doing the audit, they didn't give us everything we needed, and sometimes we come to the wrong conclusion. So basically, this is exactly what we reviewed, except for one item regarding a rewrite of the original stale employee manual, and we also had some comments relative to overtime. Everything else is what the Finance Committee saw and what management saw when we met, I think it was August 31st.
Thank you.
So the email that was sent out by the clerk then was bad information.
I didn't see the email. I don't know what it said, but you know,
I can read it to you if you like.
there was no. I will tell you this: at the Finance Committee meeting, I explained the purpose of a preliminary draft of my report. Every page of my report was stamped preliminary draft for management's discussion only, and I said that I reserve the right to take a look at this report, and there may be some changes before the final report is out. But I don't ever recall agreeing to take anything out of the report. I reserve the right to correct errors, but everything else that was in that report then is in this report today.
Okay, Mr. Wells?
And James, you said that one of the objectives, of the auditor was to make sure that everybody got to see the report.
Yes, sir.
And that didn't happen.
Well, I think that the council has a finance committee that it's been my understanding that in the past the auditor has met with the finance committee, presented their report. That finance committee has the opportunity to bring that report back to the full board. So I was just following the structural committee setting that y'all have in place as to how y'all want to deal with financial matters. Next year, if you want me to appear before the full board and look at a draft, I'll be happy to do that. But I'm just following the structural. It's been my understanding that the financial matters, particularly the audit, is introduced to the finance committee. They have an opportunity to talk to the other members of the council who are not on the finance committee. All of y'all have an opportunity to call my office or even stop by my office at 401 East Thomas in Hammond and discuss anything you want about anything in this report or otherwise. But I was following what I believe the protocol have been, which is to meet with the finance. We met that morning, we met with the parish president and his staff, and then we followed it up with a meeting with the finance committee, and that's what I understood the protocol
This is not a public document until the
No,
council.
no, and I explained that. It wasn't. It's an attempt to let everybody read it, particularly administration. I'm making sure that the financial information is factually correct. And if it's not, they're charged with the responsibility of bringing it to their attention. Remember, in this 100-page document, 3 pages are mine, 97 pages is administration. And I got to make sure that what we put in here is right. And that's the purpose of the preliminary draft. That has been my customary practice for over 38 years. I don't plan on changing it now. I think I owe you that courtesy to let you see in advance what's going to be in the report. But I always reserve the right to go back and change it if new evidence becomes available that allows me to make that decision.
And I'm not arguing against anything, but I'm just saying I think every council member should have a right to.
Sure.
Should have the privilege to at least see it. And I'm not disagreeing with you, and you said that was your principle anyway. And I have one other question.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that there should be electronic time machine and attendance system for the council clerk. Is that the same thing that we should also have for the fire administrator? And if
Yes, sir.
not, then I would like to know why.
The best way I'd like to explain that is this. The weakness that I noted in the time and attendance for the council clerk position. That exact same weakness exists for the fire administrator's position. So as an auditor, I have to say that I think you have to look at what you can do to try to eliminate that weakness for both positions. But I think you have to recognize they're two separate and distinct positions. The type of time and attendance system for, as an example, for state police, the time and attendance system that the road deputies use is completely different than the time and attendance that the office personnel use, because there's no expectation that a road deputy leave from his home, go to the office first before he starts his shift, punch a time clock, and then head out on the road. So my point is the weakness exists in both positions. What y'all decide to do to eliminate that weakness could be totally different, but I think you have to consider both of them. That's my thoughts.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can you clarify something for me?
Yes.
So if we were sent an email with a list of recommendations from the Personnel Committee, and it said that if we approved those, that there were conditions in your audit that would be removed, is that incorrect?
That's an incorrect statement. I never made that commitment to anyone, nor did I say it at the Finance Committee meeting.
And I think from the Personnel Committee, I have a copy of the note here if you need to see it again. In my note, I did not say that. I said that if we address this, which we attempted to do 2 weeks ago and it got voted down, that there would be, we could attach a letter saying that we have managed those recommendations using the following.
Yeah, and what I think I remember saying is that if you can adopt some recommendation before the report is sent in, I am more than happy to put a letter stating that in the report so that the users of your financial statements will see that at least some of the recommendations were considered and maybe adopted. But again, that's going to be Wednesday afternoon. If it goes in late, then we have to, I don't want to go in late. We got to get it in by September 30th, I think.
And you also said that everything you put in here you think is right.
Yes.
Use the terminology.
Yes.
So these recommendations, which this board turned down 2 weeks ago, and I could read them again if you'd like, would have managed this.
Yes.
And because you and I had that conversation. And so you feel like these recommendations are put in here because this is what is right. Am I reading
I
that
believe
correct?
my recommendations demonstrate good public policy. I think it's the right thing to do. I think as auditors, when we look at controls or lack of controls, we have to think about what could happen. Sometimes we don't say anything did happen, but what could happen? If your controls over time and attendance are very weak and they essentially rely on the complete honesty of an employee, while that is a wonderful personal attribute, it's a lousy control, and I have no way of auditing that. I want to see a piece of paper, I want to see documentary evidence that says the time and attendance that's being certified. And what makes these two positions unique is not a single one of y'all are here every day to determine when people are showing up and when they're not. It's hard to certify someone's time and attendance if you're not physically present to observe that. So I believe my recommendations will adequately resolve this problem. I think they're reasonable. I think they demonstrate best practices for governmental entities. But at the end of the day, it's something y'all have to decide what your policy is going to be, and I guess I'll have to live with it, whatever that ends up being. But it's kind of in your hands now.
I think what you're hearing now, what you're dealing with now, coming from this board, is that the findings that was sent to you in relation to the council clerk, even though I think they were satisfactory, it was done by a small group of council and not the entire council. And that's why you're getting different comments from different councilmen. Sure. You're stuck in the middle of all that stuff.
Well, I guess the one thing that I want to say about it, all along, the Personnel Committee has worked with you to try to deal with these findings from the time they were authorized to meet to try to work it out. So there never was any, they made this up on their own, because this whole story got changed at the last meeting, that the audit was going to be things were going to be taken out, this and that. None of that ever was part of the discussion with the Personnel Committee and you. The discussion was, here are the findings, y'all work something out, get it passed, I'll attach a letter to the audit, send it to the legislative auditor, and it will show that y'all have done something to satisfy the finding. That got all turned around. I don't know who turned it around, but it caused, this is actually about the third time that something was brought up to try to do something, and it's been killed every time. Now, if I was the person whose name was involved with these stamps and all of that, I would be making the motion to accept these recommendations. But that's not happening. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm ready to accept it. The reason I'm ready to accept it, it's an accountability issue. Our duty is to the people of this parish to do what's right with their tax money. I'm not saying anybody's stealing. I'm not saying anybody's on the lam. I'm just saying the people that pay the taxes to this parish deserve this council to do what we pay you to tell us to do. And that's not what's happening. This has been, whatever reason, the majority of this council has tried to kill this. And all we're asking for are very simple things. Finish the audit, do what the recommendations are, and we can move on to the business of the parish. And that's my feeling on it.
And this is my feeling. The audit is finished. We've heard the recommendation coming from the auditor, and it's up to us to correct and to make sure that these findings are resolved. And I think that's the responsibility of this council, is to do that.
These are listed as conditions. Why are they being called findings?
If I could have just a few more minutes.
Sure.
This is very technical auditor language, right? So when an auditor sees something in the entity they're auditing and they feel strong enough about it to put it in a written report, I have a hierarchy of about 5 different categories I can put that thing in. The absolute worst is I say someone violated the law. That's terrible. When you drop down to the next level, it's something called material weakness. In there I say that the weakness is so bad that we could have a really, really, really big mistake and no one would ever catch it. Then you drop down to the 3rd level and it's called significant deficiency. And then you drop down to the 4th level, which is called a management level comment. I put this in a significant deficiency because I'm saying that there's a weakness in your internal controls that, if not corrected, could result in an error happening. It may not be a big, big, big error, but it could be an error nevertheless, and it could go on and not be detected in a timely manner. So the decision about where I put things is mine and mine alone to make, unless it's a violation. So typically, if someone violates a law, that's where you talk about a finding. The rest of this, I call them conditions because they're conditions about the internal control environment that is creating an opportunity for bad things to happen. And the significance of that weakness determines how really bad the event is. So where you're at, you're not at the highest, you're not at the lowest, you're kind of right there in the middle, but it's a significant deficiency because if you don't address it, and I think if you can address it, you will create good public policy for years to come, because 10 years from now, 15 years from now, other people might be in your seats, and you would have put a roadmap in place of what the expectation for, particularly the council clerk, because one of the real challenges is that position under the charter is an employee of the council, and under the checks and balances and separation of powers, what could you ever really write in an employee manual that the administration has that could address that? Because I think in talking to the administration, there's at least some concerns about what authority do they really have over the council clerk's position, since under the charter, there's that clear separation between parish president and the administration and the council. So I think y'all could do yourself a really good favor by coming up with some workable recommendations. One other thing I wanted to mention is that regardless of what y'all decide to do, I have to consider this next year. And the legislative auditor, I've got to seek their advice, and I will be, but if a finding stays in a report for 3 straight years without being corrected, under state law, the legislative auditor has the authority to suspend any state funding that comes into your parish. So unless we can find a way to clear this, it's going to be a big, big problem 3 years from now. So I don't know what the answer is. I'm giving you some suggestions to consider. But whatever you decide to do, if you want me to include it in this report, I will wait long enough Wednesday to get it in there. But that's kind of where we're at right now.
Mr. Dennis, would
Yes.
you recommend that we have a separate manual for our employee?
Yes. And I really think whatever you do, I think you should do it in a manner that has the force of law, right? So if you do, one thing you could do is you could potentially amend, you have an ordinance that adopted your current employee manual. And the importance of that is that by adopting that, you guys set the law. The parish president has to follow it, right? Now, I've got something I can audit, because I can audit and make sure that all the payroll procedures that are being done in accordance with that ordinance. I was thinking about this, and I think whatever you do, I think you want to try to do it in a way in which it has the effect of law, so that as an auditor, I can audit it and I can come back to you later and say, well, someone's not following our policy or doing this or doing that. So I don't know if a resolution is sufficient, or if you have to go in and say, let's set an ordinance and try to get something memorialized forevermore in our ordinance records that 20 years from now, if there's any question about what the responsibilities and what the rules are going to be for the council. If you read the charter, it's almost silent with respect to policies and procedures related to the council clerk position. And you don't find anything in the employee manual that specifically addresses it. And so you could probably say there's nothing in the employee manual because they don't have the right to supervise and monitor and make policies that affect your employees. So I think the best thing is to try to put something together that you could have as good public policy, and it'll be there for a long, long time to come, and it'd be good government in action. So,
Dennis, the only employee of the parish council is the clerk.
correct,
And that's spelled out in the charter. The
absolutely.
parish council hires the clerk, we set the salary, we give the raises. So you can do a policy for one person, because that's the only employee that we have. If we had 10 people, you could do a policy for 10. But you can also do the policy for one person if that's all the employees you have. Is that correct?
What I would suggest, though, is that even though that's the only employee of the council, that particular person does participate, like all other parish employees, in retirement systems, health insurance, all kind of employee benefits. So you got to be careful that having a very small, short policy that doesn't address everything else, which is why, if you're looking for my recommendation, I think the employee manual that y'all adopted in December is very good.
That's what I was going to ask.
I think if you could just amend that and add a section relative to the council clerk's position so that everything else in there applies, plus what you write into it, I would like to recommend you go back and amend that ordinance and add what you want to add. I think that's the best way to do it, but it's up
That's
to
what I was
y'all.
going to ask. Could we amend that to include the clerk?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, any other question? If not, we'll need a motion to accept the audit.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Vial. Second by Mr. Ingraffia. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Thank you,
Everybody.
Mr. James. Okay, let's see where we at. Number 9. Adoption of TP ordinance number 20-39, an ordinance declaring that a certain property expropriated by ordinance number 9911 is no longer needed for valid public purpose and is therefore no longer expropriated and is again designated as adjudicated property. Have a motion to accept.
I'll make that motion.
Second
Motion
here.
by Ms. Hyde, second by Mr. Vial. Roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Excuse me, yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, motion passed. Number 10, adoption of TP ordinance number 20-40, an ordinance placing 25-mile-an-hour speed limit signs on Stilley Road in District 2 in Tangipahoa Parish in accordance with Chapter 20, Streets, Roads, Sidewalks, and Drainage.
I'll make that move.
Motion by Mr. Ingraffia, second by Mr. Forrest. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Okay, motion passed. Number 12, adoption of TP ordinance number 20-42, an ordinance to amend, reenact, and extend TP ordinance number 20-25 to place an additional moratorium on the consideration and/or preliminary approval through the Planning Commission of any new resident subdivisions with 8 lots and special use residential commercial developments for a period of 60 days within Tangipahoa south of I-12.
Also moved.
Motion by Ms. Hyde.
Second.
Second by Mr. Mayu. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Motion passes. Number 13, introduction of TP ordinance number 20-43, an ordinance placing 25-mile-an-hour speed limit signs on Oak Hill Estates Road in District 2 in Tangipahoa Parish in accordance with Chapter 20, Streets, Roads, Sidewalks, and Drainage.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Ingraffia,
Second.
second by Mr. Forrest. Roll call.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Richter?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Wake up, Richter.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion passes. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Number 11, thank you, Mr. Mayu. Adoption of TP ordinance number 20-41, an ordinance to grant a variance to TP ordinance number 20-19, allowing the administrative approval of 110 feet of frontage on East Damiano Lane and an existing 35 feet servitude for 2 lots, each being a half acre for Bridget D. Barnes at 17062 East Damiano Lane in Hammond in District Number 5.
I so moved.
Motion by Mr. Richtel.
Second.
Second by Mr. Wells. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Number 14, introduction of TP ordinance number 20-44, an ordinance placing 35-mile-an-hour speed limit signs on Briar Patch Cemetery Road in District Number 4 in Tangipahoa in accordance with Chapter 20, Streets, Roads, Sidewalks, and Drainage.
Also move for you, Colo.
Thank you, sir. Motion by Mr. Richtel, second by Mr. Joseph. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Motion passed. Number 15, introduction of TP ordinance number 20-45, an ordinance amending TP ordinance number 20-19, planning and development.
I think Ms. Bailey's here, but this was a bunch of housekeeping stuff that came up a couple, 3 weeks ago in our developmental reg meeting. I think it was discussed with the big group, if I remember right, yeah. So this is a follow, she's in the back there, and see. So this is a follow-up of that.
Okay?
You know, by the way, we do have another meeting set for Wednesday.
Okay. Got a motion?
Yes.
Motion by Mr. Vial,
Second.
second by Mr. Mayu. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion passes. Number 16, adoption of TP Resolution R20-25, a resolution regarding National Bridge Inspection Standards. This is a yearly
Yeah.
housekeeping.
Also move.
Motion by Mr. Vial, second by Mr. Joseph. Roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
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 Okay, motion passes. Number 17, adoption of TP Resolution R 2026, declaring Tangipahoa Parish a Purple Heart Parish.
I so move, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Joseph.
Second.
Second by Mr. Vial. Roll call.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Joseph, you got a comment?
I want to, Robert, you want to go into that a little bit? Okay, thank you. I know all of you all know what Purple Heart is all about, but for those who don't know, looking at TV, you receive a Purple Heart when you are in combat and you get wounded. We had a ceremony in Ponchatoula. How long ago was that, Bridget?
3 weeks, I would
About 3 weeks ago, and it was very inspiring. And I mentioned the how patriotic this parish is. So I think if we can get the Purple Heart designation going, it would also just prove to all the parishes in Louisiana that we put our money where our mouth are as far as being patriotic. I don't know of any other parish that is it. One more?
We will be the first.
Yeah, we'd be the first. So that would be a big deal for us. I don't think we have any World War I veterans here, but I know we got a few World War II, Korea, of course, Vietnam, Afghan, and so on. So that would pay a huge tribute to the people who served and who got wounded as well in combat. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph.
All right.
Okay, appointment, reappointment to the Parish Volunteer Council on Aging. Whose appointment?
There's 4 that can be reappointed, and it's districts 1, 2, 6, and 8.
Yeah, 8. I'm still waiting on,
I'll make
still
a
waiting on
motion.
someone to.
I'll make a motion to reappoint Jewett Schilling. And if someone else wants to reappoint, they can join my motion.
You got the Shillings one?
Yes.
Okay. What about,
Ronald Peavy,
yeah,
I'll make that motion to reelect him.
okay. Everybody else is okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mine's gonna table, okay?
Okay, we're going to table number 8, but we're going to vote on number 1 and 2. So if y'all would make a motion down there?
There's one more,
Huh?
I'm sorry, there's one more, Miss Colleen Ebar.
Okay, who's this?
My district.
Yeah.
I'll reappoint him.
Okay, she's got another term. Okay, so we're going to table number 8, and we're going to approve Ms. Shillings, Mr. Peavy, and Ms. Ebarb. That'll be districts 1, 2, and 6. Motion by Mr. Forrest, second by Mr. Ingraffia. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Mr. Ristel, number 20, trick or treat hours,
Got that on there.
Planning Commission?
I think we normally do from 6 to 8,
5 to 8.
5 to 8, and we certainly ask everyone to be responsible with the pandemic going on, so also move.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Ristel, second by the other trick or treater, Mr. Mayu. Roll call.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Number 19, appointment, reappointment to Tangipahoa Parish Planning Commission. Actually, both of these are mine. I'd like to reappoint Mr. Aaron Walker, and I'd like to hold off on Mr. Masaikia. He's been kind of not attending the meetings, and if he's not going to attend the meetings, does anybody not have a member on the Planning Commission?
I believe that's the seat you had told me that I could replace.
Okay. We're waiting on a letter. I don't think we've got a letter from him yet. I'm gonna try to contact him to see if he's not wanting to serve. I'll be glad to let you have that appointment.
I wanted to ask you though, is that something we would have to vote on to remove him? Because we can remove him based on his attendance at this point.
It's not that easy. I mean, we do have a rule that if they miss 75%, but there's still a lot of rigmarole before you can actually remove them. It's really better if we can get the person to resign. It makes it a lot simpler.
I have a question. Ms. Bailey, is there a procedure with the planning commission about attendance? Procedure about attendance at the planning commission? Did they come up with a process, or am I missing something?
We were discussing that, but basically.
They hadn't gotten there, okay.
Well, actually, it's about ordinance that you guys encumbered, if they miss 4 meetings in a calendar year. They have the.
And he's missed way more than that.
So it sounds like the commission
It's
has
actually
that.
an ordinance based in our regulations and in our new codes that we just encumbered as well.
Okay.
Based off of what was already in place.
I'm gonna probably send him another letter and send it registered so that he can receive it, and tell him that, you know, we either need to get the letter of resignation or the process will start to remove him. I hate to do that, but, you know, people want to be on these boards and then they don't show up. And it makes it to where they can't have a quorum, you know? And there's nothing wrong with it. If your work is holding you from making it, let's give it to somebody that can make it, because it's really an important position. So we'll try to get that letter out again this week and get an answer. But I do need a motion for Aaron Walker.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Joseph. Second by Mr. Ingraffia to reappoint Mr. Aaron Walker. He actually has 2 terms left because he filled an unexpired term. Okay, roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Number 21, approval of the 2021 parish government holiday schedule. You have a copy of it in your book?
I also move.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Vial,
I second.
second by Mr. Joseph. Roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Motion passes. Number 22, approval of the 2021 Tangipahoa Parish Council meeting schedule. It's pretty standard, you know, our meeting days are the same every month. Motion by Mr. Joseph.
Second.
Who, wait.
Yeah.
Okay. Second by Mr. Vial. Roll call.
Yep.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, motion passes. I'd like to insert this in as 22A. Appointment to Drainage District Number 4. This is the one we added to the agenda. This will be James C. Ricks, 601 Hardy Street, Amite, Louisiana. And he will be appointed to the Amite Drainage District.
Number 4.
Yeah.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Joseph. Second by Mr. Forrest. No, Mr. Ingraffia. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Kristen, here's that. Okay, where are we? Number 23, approval of personnel recommendations. Who put this on?
I did.
Okay, Ms. Hyde.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the auditor's recommendations as spelled out in the report we received tonight and implement those.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
You talking about the recommendation that the auditor made today?
Yes, sir.
No, I second.
Okay. Got a motion and a second to accept the recommendations of the auditor to correct the findings of the 2019 audit.
I just have a question. What's the plan? What is it, 1 through 10? What are we doing?
What's spelled
Accepting them
out
all.
here?
Okay, I mean, what's the plan to do that?
I don't understand with your question, I mean, there's specific recommendations that he's telling us to do. Right now, all we need to do is answer that we are going to, basically what the parish did. We're going to accept his recommendations, and we're going to implement them.
Actually, we already done.
And we'll have to,
Can we accept the audit? We did.
We accepted the audit report.
Well, if
Well,
accept
you
the
still
audit
gotta
report-
have a letter to go along with it.
If we accept the audit report,
You gotta have that letter.
Well, accepting them, wouldn't you sign, write a letter to Dennis?
did you read the letter that Jeff sent?
But I mean, you gotta kinda, are you gonna enact all of his recommendations?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll have to copy those down, and that will be what the letter will say. Is that correct?
Well, I guess that's however you want to answer it, but that's not what Jeff did. Jeff just, from management, he just said they will implement the internal control procedures over payroll and time, attendance, and record keeping as recommended by the auditor.
Yeah, but I mean, if you do that, that's gonna be how you're gonna handle it from here on out. You're not just writing a letter saying you're gonna do it and you're not gonna do it. That's not gonna be satisfactory to the letter. Am I correct, Dennis?
My motion says.
You either gotta pass it and say this is the way the procedure's gonna be, but the letter saying you're gonna do it and then you don't implement it, it's not gonna be.
I'll kind of defer to the council attorney, but I think you have to take some type of action that has the force of law such that if I come in and audit it next year, I can come back and say whether we're following policy or not.
Vote on the letter, huh?
I think it has to be a policy matter
So
that,
why don't the personnel committee meet?
No.
Or,
Still vote on the letter.
what I'm saying, never mind.
we have a question on, we have a
Where's
motion. and a
the,
second on the
David,
floor.
do you have the recommendations from the
Well-
last meeting?
We have a question. Don't we have a motion?
Well, we got a motion, yeah, in a second. But you got discussion.
I'm talking to the chairman.
I know you're talking to me.
Yeah, that's who I'm talking to. I'm not talking to you.
I know you're not.
David, do you have the recommendation?
Yeah, but that's all I'm asking. We had 8 items that we recommended.
No.
That
No,
came from
no,
personnel.
that you
That's not what-
recommended.
No, that's the
No, we're
personnel,
talking about what
that
the
the
auditor
personnel
recommended.
committee recommended.
No. No.
The personnel committee made those recommendations, not David. Okay? And they were based on the audit findings. And I can read them if you like. And they pretty much cover this.
We don't agree with those. We agree with what
So
Dennis
you,
has
all
in
right,
the
so you
audit.
agree with standard hours of operation? Wait, can I read this or not? You agree with primary office location? You agree with expanded job description? You agree with identifying the council chair or his designee as immediate supervisor of the council clerk position? You agree with the daily electronic time and attendance system? And you agree with overtime policy with advance approval by the council chairman or his or her designee? So you're saying, we write that letter, we're gonna implement this?
Yes.
Here?
No.
And what,
Not those.
I'm hearing no.
what, that's what Dennis had in his report. And yes, I agree to those. So what I would like is from the personnel committee, what system, what are we gonna purchase to use as a timekeeper? What,
We recommended that at the last meeting.
Yeah. So, Mr.
you,
It's
like
already here.
a system?
Yeah.
How much did it cost?
We already have it here. It's an electronic, visual system here in this building, and it can be set up in the other building by our IT folks.
So is that gonna be a cost to set it up in Hammond?
Oh, it's not in Hammond yet, but it can be
It's
set up by IT guys, yes.
We have
Any
a
other
motion.
questions?
Did the motion get a second, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, but it's discussion, Mr. Wells, just calm down.
No, I just asked you a question. I wanted to be sure.
You
whether
got a
that
motion in a second, yes, sir, but we're just gonna let everybody have their chance to discuss it.
Yeah.
All right,
And I think.
any other discussion? Okay.
I'm trying to figure out what's different from this than what we recommended last 2 weeks ago. Somebody help me out.
Well, if I heard Mr. James right today, he says that the parish has a good manual. We can take the manual and adapt it to our employee and adopt it. But you have to include that, our person in the writing of the manual. Right now, it's just the parish employees. You would have to put an amendment in there of the clerk and her duties. And then you can adopt that manual. So really, to tell you the truth, if you just say you're going to adopt the personnel manual and amend it to include the clerk, that would settle the whole situation.
Right.
and she would be like the rest of the employees, she would be under the same personnel manual as the other employees. So that would be the simplest thing, am I right?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. So instead of all this, boo-hooing about this or that,
The only thing that we really have to address is the accountability for time, is basically where we at.
that's correct. And then
It's pretty much summed up what we have to deal with.
and you would amend it to say, like Robbie's the supervisor for the unemployment, whoever the chairman is would be the supervisor of the clerk.
Correct.
So I think if everybody'd be willing to do that, we take the personnel manual, amend it to add the clerk,
Right.
and that would cover
Everything.
the whole thing. So,
Except for the accountability.
well, no, it pretty much spells out in there, the accountability would be, you'd have to amend it to add that, Trent.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so, if you're gonna use the electronic system, you would add that in there,
Right.
and then who the clerk is immediate supervisor is.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that.
So, I think if we do that,
That covers it.
that kinda stops all the bickering right there.
One other thing I would like to understand or to clear up, if someone can find out legally, if she is in a meet and has to drive to a meeting, if her days are set a certain way and she has to drive to a meeting, will we have to pay her mileage?
And well, what we'd have to do is, we'd have to try to work around the days that, if she's gonna be in Hammond, 2 days, say, you try to keep all the meetings. If she has to go to Hammond because of a meeting, I think that would be something that you could possibly look at. If she's using her individual car, you can pay her mileage to drive back and forth. So those are things that all can be worked out between the clerk and the supervisor. I don't have a problem with that, and I'm sure any of y'all that would be chairman would not have a problem with that. So all you're doing is you're making everybody accountable in the situation. I think it'd be pretty easy. But if you don't want to discriminate and say one employee is different from the other 200, use the same personnel manual, amend it, and put those few things in it, and that solves the whole problem.
Well, I see it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
we have a motion on the floor to accept the recommendation coming from the auditor
And implement them.
and implement them. Coming from the auditor, those recommendations, and we have a second.
And who will implement them?
The council will, I guess. But, that's the motion that we have on the floor in the second.
Yes, and I have a discussion point.
And I didn't finish it.
Who's going to implement them? Who's going to implement these things? Still, I haven't got an answer. Who is responsible for implementation? Simple question.
Did you recognize me, Mr. Chairman? Somebody else talked.
Well, go ahead. You stopped. I didn't know if you were.
Well, no, I was just waiting. So I think we should go ahead, move forth, accept the recommendation that came from the auditor, and then we still have time to whatever we need to do to address those so they don't turn into a finding. We have basically almost a year on how we want to address it.
So we're just putting this off?
Yeah.
Basically, we're just pushing it down the street.
I didn't say push it. Now I said accept the recommendation from the auditor.
So say, who's going to implement these?
Yeah.
That's a legitimate
The
question.
council will.
Okay, how is the council going to implement them?
We have work session.
Well, I personally, I know there's a motion and a second. I would ask y'all to vote against that and do the personnel manual thing, and we're finished with this for good.
But can we make an amendment to that?
Yes, you can make a substitute motion to say that we're going to accept the personnel manual and amend it to fit the clerk. And that's it.
Yeah.
As a part of the motion? Or that's a...
No, that would have to be a substitute motion.
Yeah,
Is that
I'd
a
like to make
substitute
that
motion?
Yeah.
Okay, so all we're doing is adding the manual?
An amended manual. So if you can get a motion to accept, to amend the manual to include it,
Tangipahoa Parish,
that's correct.
I'll
that
second
would
that.
solve a lot of problems.
I'll second that.
Okay,
Okay, motion by Mr. Joseph. Who made the motion?
I did.
Okay, second by Mr. Vial. We'll vote on the amended item first. Roll call?
Yes.
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 No.
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 Yes.
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 Motion passes. So I would ask the Personnel Committee, motion is passed, to take the employee manual and insert whatever's necessary in there to cover the clerk position and bring a copy back to the full board for their review. Okay? All right. And Mr. James, I will get a letter out to you saying that the council has addressed the matter. And I guess, does it need to be specific on what we've done? Or just a letter saying we have addressed the findings by inserting it into the personnel manual?
First of all, I'm happy to help you write that letter. I think it should be specific to make the readers know that you've adopted those recommendations, and as far as I'm concerned, the matter is clear. So.
Thank you very much. Okay. Number 24. DG Louisiana LLC Dollar General Store number 8871, 23261 Highway 190, Robert, Louisiana, Class B, Class AB. Robert, who would that be?
That's John.
Mr. John. So moved by Mr. Ingraffia. Second by Mr. Forrest. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Motion passes. I'm going to hold off on legal matters. I'm going to take councilman privilege, and I'm going to ask Miss Christy Taylor. Is Miss Taylor here?
It's Trail.
Trailer? I'm sorry, Miss Trailer.
That's quite all right.
If you would, just state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, sir. Christy Trail, Executive Director of the Pontchartrain Conservancy. Some of you may know our organization is the Lake Pontchartrain Basin Foundation. We just recently changed our name and logo. So thank you for having me here today. Not to jump into a touchy subject, but I did just want to commiserate for a minute about the auditing standards. We are a nonprofit entity. We receive public money, so we're subject to many of the same regulations that you all are. So I can just commiserate with some of the auditing situations that you're going through. I'm here today just to say thank you, and we're excited to work with you. We recently are the recipients of a grant from a national nonprofit known as the River Network to install a litter capture device, which was installed today. The parish president attended, as well as some of the council people. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend the installation today, but that device will be installed on Yellowwater Creek, or is installed on Yellowwater Creek, to capture litter. So it will remain in place without impeding the flow of water to capture litter. And what we intend to do with that device is capture the data, try to understand how much litter is affecting that particular water body, and use that data to hopefully prevent and or reduce any litter from entering into the parish waterways in the future. So you may know that 2 of these are already installed. The one that was installed on Ponchatoula Creek was, after about 4 months, 225 pounds of litter was collected. Less than 10% of that was what was considered degraded, old litter. So the remaining 90% of what was captured was fresh litter, which could either be recycled or disposed of fairly easily in a municipal landfill. About 30% of that was debris, but I just want to call your attention to the large amount of litter that was captured with that one device. So we're hoping with now having 3 in the parish that we can really make a difference. So I want to thank you, and we're excited to work with you all on this.
Thank you very much. And I want to commend the 2 ladies on the end for all their hard work with the litter getters. Apparently, they'll never be out of business the way it's looking, but it looks like from the pictures that y'all send, it's really working. So congratulations to y'all. I know y'all put a lot of effort in it. Mr. Mayu?
How many more creeks or tributaries do we have that we could have use for these? That it's, I know when you're fooling with more of the bigger creeks and canals or whatever you want to call them.
So we have been working closely with the Drainage District as well, because they're very familiar and work in these waterways. And there is another one we're looking possibly up further north. But today, Don and Nathan was speaking with myself and Robbie about coming up with a plan of different tactical ways that we can attack litter, not just with the litter getter, but upstream of how to get the litter before it ever gets to the litter. They're implementing a bunch in Mobile and Alabama, so we're going to set up a meeting later this year to come up with a plan and then bring it to the litter committee.
Good deal.
And, do some discussion, so.
Okay, thank you.
Very good.
Hold on, man. Look, one quick thing, Steve.
Sure, go ahead.
The Keep Tangipahoa Beautiful Committee met last week, a couple days ago, and we're having a cleanup at 7 a.m. and they meet on the 3rd of October. On the 10th, we have one in Hammond at 8 o'clock. And on the 17th, we have one in Kentwood at 10 a.m. And all of you are invited.
One other thing, so last weekend, when we installed the second litter getter on Seltzer's Creek, which was sponsored by DSLD for 12 months, it was planned to have a parish-wide trash dash where, from Kentwood all the way down to Ponchatoula, we were having multiple pickups. Well, the weather was pretty awful, but Ponchatoula still got out there, and DSLD had their cleanup. And that one day, we picked up over 200 bags of trash. We had a freezer, multiple tires, a lot of different things. But so that was also in conjunction with Christie Trails. Nonprofit has beach sweep every year, which is all around the basin. So it was really great that the parish participated, and we're rescheduling those other ones where we're doing our part and we get out there and making sure that the environment's clean.
Thank y'all. Any other questions on that?
Where's
Okay.
one on Seltzer's?
We're going to go back to legal matters. We had an employee that sent out a letter dealing with some matters of ADA. As y'all know, personnel matters can't be discussed in public unless the employee is notified. They do have a right not to discuss those in open meeting. They can do it in executive session. If it's okay, I'm going to put it on the agenda for the next meeting. That way our attorney can notify that employee and in writing that they have the option of either open or closed session, and then those matters can be addressed at the next council meeting. Okay?
I just have one concern.
Certainly.
We just said that we're gonna follow the parish personnel, then we're gonna adopt it and then amend it.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, if that's the case, then under that, then this should have gone to the Human Resource Department.
Well, we don't have a human resource department.
Yes, we do.
No, we don't. Not for the parish council. We haven't.
For the parish, I mean, she's under.
We haven't amended it.
She's under the personnel man.
We haven't amended it yet, Lionel.
It's a good point, though.
I mean, it is a good point, but I mean, we have to amend it and be a part of it. But I think the lawyer's the way to go. Y'all do it. I'll do whatever y'all want.
I mean, I just want to make sure that that's the wishes of it, the entire council.
I mean, that's fine.
Yeah, I think that should be.
And that'll be a good thing. Maybe Mr. Chris, you could look at the manual.
Seemed like we jumped a step,
Well, no, you didn't jump a step.
I just said it seemed like.
I mean, we're going to have the amendment done by Wednesday so we can get the letter off.
Right.
So then he can use the manual to guide us what to do on the other thing. And then.
The manual says the Human Resource Department. I can tell you what it
I don't know. We'll have to see if we.
Okay. We can say look at it, but that's what it says.
Okay, so that'll be on the agenda under legal matters for the next meeting. Okay, councilman's privileges. Any?
I don't have any, but we do have a fire board meeting,
Okay.
correct?
No, not tonight.
This evening, so everybody.
We
be prepared.
postponing.
Okay, so we do have a fire board meeting.
Okay, anybody else? Do I have a motion to adjourn, Mr. Wells?
Yeah, you do tonight. I knew that we
Second.
were.
Okay, motion by Mr. Wells, second by Mr. Vial. All in favor? All opposed? Fire board meeting?